We're doing the chi-squared test for analysis of non-parametric data using SPSS. So I've uploaded the swimming data from our Cougar courses from the Excel sheet. So there were two methods. Oh, and I've already labeled them, but here I'll go through that again. We have coaching, or whether they got the new method, which they were coded 1, or the traditional method, where they were coded 2. Then they were judged on their swimming ability. So 1 were considered good swimmers, 2 was considered average swimmers, and 3 was considered poor swimmers, for both. So let's go to variable view. You can label the two variables. So the first one was coaching method. Second one is like ability, or I called it performance. So you could type those words in. Decimal places, we're just using the numbers to code for different meanings. So that, we have no decimal places. So I like to get rid of the decimals just to keep it simple. Measure, well, coaching, you either got the new method or the traditional method. So that'd be a nominal scale or categorical. And I put good, average, and poor as ordinal, because good is better than average is better than poor. So there is some order to those, the scoring system. This is important. I go to values. So instead of calling it 1s and 2s and 3s, I want to label it something. So I can give certain values certain labels. So you click the blue button. So when we coded it 1, that was someone who received the new method. People who are coded 2 in the first column, those were people who got the traditional method. And hit OK. Do the same thing for the next variable. So those who were coded a 1 were considered good swimmers. 2s were average swimmers. And 3s were poor swimmers. So click OK. By labeling this here, it makes it a lot easier to see things, both in data view. You should see new, instead of having 1s and 2s, you now have your data labels. If not, you can click on this button up here. But it'll change it back between labels and how you coded it. Also, when we get our report, it'll put the labels in our report for us, so it'll make it easier to interpret. So to do the chi-squared test, we go to Analyze, Descriptive Statistics, Crosstabs. So here, we want to, what do we want in the different rows? Well, in Excel, we had the coaching on different rows, performance in the different columns. So let's click the Statistics button first. Make sure this chi-squared is illuminated, because that's the test we want to do. Then go to cells, I think it is. Yes, and make sure observed and expected are both checked. And that should be good. Continue, and then let's hit OK. So this window will come up. So first it tells us, okay, we had 107 people, that's everybody. Likewise, nobody was missing, that's nobody, for a total of 107. So here's our crosstabs in this middle box. So we have new and traditional, good, average, and poor. So observed is on top, expected right below it for each box. Notice the 55 in both, 52, 36, 46, 25. What we want is this top row of this chi-squared test. The value is our chi-squared value. So that'd be the sum of all the observed minus expected squared divided by the expected. Degrees of freedom is 2. That's levels of factor 1 minus 1 times levels of factor 2 minus 1. So in this case, we'd have 2, new and traditional, minus 1 is 1, multiplied by, the levels for performance minus 1. So 3 minus 1 is 2. So 1 times 2 is 2. There's our 2 degrees of freedom. Then our p-values in the far right column here. So it's a p-value of 0.309. So that tells us, that it's not significant, meaning there was no difference in how people were rated based on what method they had of coaching. If the p-value was less than 0.05, then we would have concluded that yes, there was a difference. But in this case, the p-value was greater than 0.05, so no, there was no difference between the coaching methods. So that's how to do the chi-square test using SPSS.